happened all pretty quick. On a Saturday morning, she got up and played a soccer game that morning. And I could tell she wasn't at like 100% because she wasn't out there hustling quite as much as I would think. But she got done with the soccer game and started complaining that she had some hip pain. And then you started complaining that your head was hurting and a headache, and still just thought, well, you're just overtired. So we went and saw a movie that night all together as a family. Came home, still complaining that she didn't feel good. I thought, you just need to go to bed. And started complaining that her neck was hurting. And so at that point, I got slightly concerned and put her to bed and called the pediatrician. So he wasn't concerned if she had a fever. We were thinking like meningitis or something, but no fever. So these random complaints. And he said, well, if she gets a fever, you need to let me know. Then you need to come in. But maybe it's like mono or maybe it's strep. And she was in Valpo Swim Club and she was finishing up outdoor soccer and just 6th grade. And I thought, yeah, maybe it is mono.
It was hard to fall asleep. It was just kind of, that was like the worst pain out of all of the weeks and days. And I couldn't fall asleep.
And then I woke up to Josh early.
6:30 in the morning.
Calling for me because Caitlin had woken up and needed to use the bathroom and couldn't get up. I don't know if it was like physically couldn't or just was so weak, like knew if I stand up, my legs aren't going to hold me.
Yeah, physically so weak she couldn't get out of bed. I had to carry her to the bathroom, and we knew something was pretty wrong.
Went to the emergency room, even then they wanted to like weigh you, and you were like holding on to their scale and very unsteady, and Josh was helping, she wasn't walking. And
just it was all weakness, muscle weakness at that time, and we were just like, why is she so weak? Why can't she hold herself up? What's going on?
So we'll observe her, for 24 hours. Let's have her stay overnight, and if she gets worse, we'll reevaluate in the morning, and then we'll go up to University of Chicago, having no idea how fast it was going to progress. We had no clue. So once they got us into a room, out of the ER and into a room, for overnight, it started to get bad really, really fast. That's when I'd say the weakness turned into more serious pain. She was in so much pain she couldn't get comfortable. So we were constantly like moving her legs and repositioning, and she
constant repositioning to avoid pain.
Yeah,
and then
she'd lost the ability to like turn or reposition herself in the bed. And I noticed her hand, the right hand, was the first thing I noticed. When she picked it up, she kind of, the wrist just kind of dropped. She couldn't manipulate those fingers. She was kind of doing this kind of thing, and it was like, oh goodness. And so working in therapy again, I was like, can you lift your fingers for me? And she couldn't. And she couldn't lift her wrist. And that's when I thought, uh-oh, this could be bad. When you have nurses, the nurses at Porter Memorial are coming in going, this is bad. Do you guys realize how bad this is? She had to use the bathroom, and they were like, we don't even know what to do, because like Josh would pick her up to try to take her to the bathroom, and her head would flop like a newborn. From Saturday morning to be playing a soccer game to early Monday morning, 4:00 in the morning, she's being intubated, helicopter flown to University of Chicago and put on a ventilator. You're just like, how does this happen in 24 hours or 48 hours?
She started to be fearful of her ability to breathe on her own.
Absolutely.
And that was scary because, when the paramedics came to take her on the helicopter here, that was
I can't move.
The scariest part was...
I can't move, I can't talk, I can't breathe, and yet you guys aren't allowed to come. I'm like, this is like awful. I was like freaking out.
I met Katie on a Monday morning after she had presented the day before with acute weakness and respiratory distress. So she was unable to even lift her head off the pillow. She could barely generate breaths on her own, and she was in impending respiratory failure. Our initial thought was that she could have had either what we ultimately diagnosed her with, which was Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is an inflammatory reaction to an infectious disease, versus a primary infection with the enterovirus that was going around at that same time. It was a very dramatic and unusual presentation insofar as how rapidly she became paralyzed. And just to clarify, her paralysis was complete, almost total body. Essentially, all she could do was open her eyes.
To end up in the ICU within 24 hours of symptoms with having trouble with breathing and being totally paralyzed is extremely unusual to this degree. For most cases, it's a viral infection that is the trigger, and it sets off an immune cycle where antibodies are produced to fight against that virus, like we happens to in all our bodies. But for some reason, that reaction to fight against those viruses are exaggerated, and we have a particular sensitivity where they would not just stop attacking the virus, but they would continue on and attack the nerve fibers.
In my ICU experience, this was among the most severe cases of Guillain-Barré I have ever seen.
She couldn't even reply on command, like for blinks. At first they were like, blink once for yes and two for no and whatever. And there was a couple days there where she couldn't even control her eye blinks, and you were like, oh no.
She was there, paying attention to us, and you'd hold it. We held up. I showed you those pictures. We have the yes/no sign. I showed you that.
One of my
She
favorite
would just
nurses.
be able to look at yes or look at no. The prognosis we were given was a year to 2 years potentially. She would be walking, maybe with or without pain. We don't know.
Yeah.
It's possible, that she could be a millimeter a day. You're expecting nerves to regenerate, out, proximal to distal, so you're like, how long is it going to take for this to get out to her feet?
My mom had kind of been telling me, like,
It's going to come
but you
back.
have a Guillain-Barré, and it's got to get worse before it's going to be able to make a full recovery. And she had told me what the doctors had said about, if you get your legs back, like not even you're going to, but like an if, it could be a year or a year and a half or 2 years, So I'd kind of had those in my mind, and at first it kind of like scared me, but when I kind of like thought about it, if I was already getting movement back, and I had only like been paralyzed for a week or for however long I was, and I thought about like who already how do I do this, like who already knows what's gonna happen, and like who already has it planned out. I put my trust in God and just really let Him take me and put me where He wanted me to be, and move me to where He wanted me to move and when He wanted me to move. And I just kind of took each day, it's like one day, just took it one time at a time.
Our first therapy was intravenous immune globulin, which is an immune modulating protein infusion. And after that, we decided we had to be more aggressive, and we proceeded with what's called plasmapheresis, which is essentially where we removed Katie's blood from her body via a large catheter and essentially washed it of inflammatory mediators and returned it to her body. We did that, I think, 7 to 9 cycles of that every day for over a week. My first week taking care of Katie, she was actually progressively getting weaker during that first few days before we began the plasmapheresis. And then I believe it was probably by around the 3rd or 4th cycle of plasmapheresis that we started to see her begin to have more movement of her extremities.
In the process of days, weeks, we started seeing like a twitch in a pinky. We'd say, did you just move your pinky? Try to move your pinky again. And you'd see a twitch like that. I mean, that's what we got one day.
Yeah.
And so we got a twitch in a pinky one day, and then the next day we got her able to blink her eyes again. So she's blinking and twitching her pinky, and then we saw her head go like this.
Yeah.
We're like, did you just move your head? Try to move your head. While you're living this, you don't know how long this is going to happen. You don't know, is this going to be our life for the next week, month, longer, And the next day, it came back. It's 45 minutes of pain, and then it went away, and she was able to cope a little bit better.
And then I started to get like twitches in my
and then the next day, she was able to start moving her legs. You're like, you're moving your leg. Like you could see muscle movement in the legs, like pushing against the foot of the bed or whatever. And things like that. And you're like, this stuff is like her nerves are waking up, and it's like, and the neurologists are coming in every day going,
we don't know.
She very quickly was able to move through her rehabilitation process and by quickly I mean on the order of weeks to months. Many people with this form of Guillain-Barré, as Dr. Silver could speak to, it requires months or years for them to recover fully. So we were all quite surprised by how dramatic and how complete of a recovery Katie had. It was absolutely amazing and not what any of us expected. I think her dramatic recovery over time is really attributed to her hard work and her family's support and the amazing work that they did with her at the rehabilitation hospital, and her just determination to get better. She has an amazing spirit, and so I think our teams helped her in those first couple of weeks while she was acutely ill in our ICU and in our hospital, and we got her to a point where she could then recover, and then that recovery was really up to the hard work that Katie did at rehab.
I remember like bits and pieces of like my hand movement and then like my thumbs up and half smiling, and so I remember most of those. It was one thing I did say was, I don't think I'll ever lay on my back again because I hated it so much. There was no way of like sleeping on your side or even just like turning there, because you're just laying in your bed just like this, and you can either like move it up, but I could barely even like sit straight up,
Whatever
like in a chair
we
position.
put you in,
You know what I
that's where
mean?
you
Like
were. Yeah.
my hips hurt and I couldn't move by myself, and it was just, I would say it was really humbling because I had to depend on so many other people than what I really knew, and I couldn't do it on my own.
You told me too, it made you realize how many people really cared about you.
That is true.
Like, that
So
was-
the love of the community was very evident.
And from school, from church, from
Family.
like family, from like my mom, my grandma. She had like a ton of her relatives and a ton of her friends just praying and getting updates, and I mean there was like people and my cousins in Oklahoma, and there were my cousins in Florida, and so there was just a lot of people.
Yeah, people praying from Canada, from all over everywhere we'd go. I mean, I had 50,000 hits on our Caring Bridge site in a month, in a couple months. We were so appreciative and so thankful and grateful for the doctors and I think you expressed that a little bit, and their understanding and of just their professional experience and how that they can help heal and help make things on the road to recovery. We also just said, listen, we believe that God healed Caitlin through you, through means, that through your experience, but He also did it, healed her immediately, because there's part of it that they can't explain. They're just like, we don't know how this happened, So we're just really thankful and said, hey, it's just by God's grace that she's healed.
It brought me closer to Jesus and to Him, and it kind of, I don't want to say forced me, but it did force me in a way to be comforted by Him and to know that He has my life planned out, and He knows what's going to happen next, and He's always going to be with me, and He's not going to leave me no matter what happens.
Katie's presentation was very dramatic, and her recovery was very dramatic. The hard part about turning it into a scholarly paper is that we don't really understand why. So we know that she was sicker and more dramatic than most patients with Guillain-Barré, and we know that she recovered faster than most patients with Guillain-Barré, but we don't know why. And so it's hard to offer that to the academic community because, again, my answer to that is very unscientific, which is that she had a fighting spirit, and I'm not sure that that's going to fly in academic circles.